Today we're joined by Crystelle Desnoyer, of French, English, and Turkish descent. Born and raised in a small town in France with just 2,500 people. We discuss everything from navigating cultures, countries, dating as a successful woman in today's world, to trusting our own curiosity. Crystelle really takes us on a journey, from chief of staff roles, running her own business, to even planning a major event for NASA, which got canceled due to Dodge, to now leading Gen AI partnerships at Adobe. This conversation is a reminder about resilience, community, and why it's never too late to build the career and the life you actually want.
Welcome to Rules to Thrive. This is our season 2. I can't wait for us to tell your journey, but let's start with an introduction. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and what do you currently do?
It's an honor to be on your podcast, so thank you. So I am French, English, and Turkish, a mix of the three. I've been in the US for 15 years, and I am in partnerships just like you at Adobe.
Where were you born? Tell me about your story.
So I was born in France, in a small town similar to the Beauty and the Beast village.
Is that the one that is all over Instagram now?
No, so that is in Colmar.
Yes.
It's in the German-French side of the country. So that's the real inspiration of the Beauty and the Beast.
And yours is very
village,
similar?
But mine is even smaller.
Okay.
It's 2,500 people.
Wow.
In the middle of the fields with the church and all that good stuff. So I grew up there. My mom's from Istanbul. She moved to UK. Did most of her 20s, early 30s there. And then when she met my dad in Turkey on holiday, they did long distance for a little bit. And then they decided that she would move to France.
Wow.
So
I want to know his business case for her to move to such a small city.
Yeah, and she didn't even speak French. So she's definitely one of the braver souls.
Wow.
And I was born rather immediately. So we just, grew up together. She was a stay-at-home mom, and she spoke to me in English. Our accents are very different.
I can hear you have a little twang of Brit, a little twang of French, and
it gets Britisher with other Brits. It's just I've been in the US for 15 years, and so you have to adapt also your accent for people to understand you. My first year here was awful.
Yeah.
Nobody understood what I said.
I worked for a British company for 6 years. And I remember my boss was super, super posh, like the Queen English posh.
Right.
And when she would tell me what to do, I'd be like, absolutely, I will get it done. Just send me an email with everything you need me to do, because I had no clue what she was saying on the phone.
Yeah, so I've gotten a lot of that, whether it's in supermarkets, in the street. They'll look at me like, what?
Yeah.
So I had to adapt a little bit. So it's no longer as British as it used to be. But the reason it is British is because I grew up in a circle of moms and kids that were the wives and kids of the engineers that came from the UK to build Euro Disney.
Got it.
So Disneyland Paris is right next door to
So that's where your dad, I'm guessing that's where your dad worked?
Nope.
No, okay.
No. Completely different. It's just that my mom spoke English, and she found this group of women as a support system, and as a young mom, and she only had me as a kid, so it was good to have a support system for her, and that she found that group. And ever since, I call them the 5 moms. I have a WhatsApp group with all of them, and they're definitely my village.
I love that. So your mom meets your dad on vacation. What does your dad do? How do you stay? And just give me the story. Give me the rest of it. Where is your dad in this story?
So my dad's in France. He's working just on a holiday, meets mom, and then love at first sight at the bar, as young 30-year-olds do. And then they just did long distance over the phone, because, no smartphones back then.
Yeah.
For about 2 years, I believe. And then they just decided to get married, and then she moved over.
So your mom is a stay-at-home mom. What's your dad's role?
So he's a self-made. He did not go to college. Self-made computer and engineer. Apparently a good one, because he ended up doing a lot of the bunker and defense-related IT and engineering on the computer side at the end of his career. So he's retired now.
They moved to this small town. How long do you stay there?
17 years.
17
So I
years.
did my whole schooling, high school, all of that, passed my baccalaureate, which is a French high school degree. and then immediately left. I think I just turned 18 that I took the Eurostar, which is a train between London and Paris, landed in London, and it was really interesting because small town girl arriving in London with a British accent, but had never lived there. So I felt out of place, yet at home. And big city. So my hearing was overstimulated.
Oh, right.
And I remember walking into Boots and buying a pair of earplugs because just the white noise of the city was deafening for me.
For all the people that are listening, Boots is like the Walgreens of the US.
Yeah,
yes.
And so that was my first 3 days in London. Arrived in college, just like here, college drop off. Mom leaves me, worried.
And you're on your own.
And I'm on my own. She goes to my aunt's house. It's about 45 minutes away from Regent's College. I was smack in the center of London. So great place, great school, location, amazing.
Yeah.
Within 2 hours, I think I called her from the top of the London Eye with my new friends that I had made in the dorm. So a typical story, I think, for a college kid. But I was with Americans then. And the first time I was really exposed, I guess, to youth and people my age that were American was in London in the dorms. And that's when they taught me a little bit about the American culture and just being exposed, I think, is what I wanted. And there were Americans, but there were so many other countries as well. I think there were about 120 countries represented in the undergrad that I went to, and that's where I thrive and felt good. And the reason I picked that school is because they had a program where you could continue doing 2 languages, which meant 12 hours of your week would be dedicated to languages. So I took German, which I had started speaking when I was 6, and Chinese, Mandarin Chinese. Yeah.
Wow. So French, English, German, Chinese. What else you got?
Turkish.
My goodness. Okay.
And then my 30s, I started learning Spanish because I go scuba diving in Latin America a lot, and I needed to be able to communicate. So
that's amazing. That's 6 languages. It's incredible. Yes. So what did you decide to study? So you moving to
international
London.
business.
International business.
So in high school, I was in science. Loved it. I was a total chemistry nerd. The problem is I found out that in France, you don't earn a lot of money doing that. And it's a lot of dedication and being isolated in a lab. And I'm a very social butterfly. And I wanted to see the world.
Yeah.
I was coming from a household where childhood was a bit difficult. And so I was very eager to discover the world and learn all the things and just being completely free and unfiltered.
Yeah.
And so international business was a good way to do it, especially with the school that I'd picked because I was mandated to go to China for a year because I was starting Mandarin Chinese as a beginner. And so you had to go for a year, not just 6 months. And I even extended my program in order to be able to go to Germany for 6 months as well. So
wow. So exposure is massive. You go to London, then China, then Germany.
And I was also mandated to do 36 weeks of internships. And so I picked the furthest possible places to do them. So I went to Japan, I went to Australia. I ended up working in Turkey a bit, in Belgium.
But that's huge, coming from a little town, having a fairly hard childhood, to just being all over the world and just seeing things, right? So curious,
exactly.
Yeah.
Curiosity
carried you. Tell me a little bit more about your childhood. So this is a tiny town. You're speaking multiple language. You have your little village of 5 women who are guiding you through life. Tell us more.
I mean, I was good in school. I loved going to school. I had all my friends. We were the top 6 girls in the class. And I just had a good life. I learned to dance early. I was 12 when I started. I ended up couples dancing when I was 16. I started competing as well. Just a small, simple life. Traveled a lot though. Every single holiday that we had, and God knows we have holidays in France, every 6 weeks we were somewhere. So we would go twice a year to London, Turkey in the summer, and as I got older, start discovering other countries.
So, Who in your life from your parents were inspiring you to go for more, build a career? What was the motivation at home?
My mom.
Your mom?
My mom always wanted me to do what I wanted to do, but also do great things.
Yeah.
You know, I spoke about this with my therapist, like being a teacher and just like not really going around or doing a lot was never an option, because she always fed me like, you're going to go to London, do your undergrad, and then you'll do great things. She would take the dictionary of jobs and read
Options.
the jobs and options.
Wow.
She was very hands-on and very supportive, because I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But without that pressure, like not the tiger mom style, but just hopeful and open and just really, really supportive. So I'm very
Yeah.
grateful for her.
That's huge. Do you remember any roles that stood out to you as she was listing
Yes,
them, and you were like,
I was-
yeah, this sounds all right?
Yeah, I was just talking about that with her maybe 3 weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
The PR, public relations.
Okay.
So
That was in a dictionary?
yeah, it was in the dictionary, and she said, "Oh, this is so good." And she had told me a story. I saw this woman on TV who was like the PR person for L'Oreal and la la la, and I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
And now 15, 20 years later, I'm thinking, I'm not quite doing PR, but you know, as a chief of staff, I work
Yeah.
closely with PR, and yeah, so close enough.
Yeah, I think in partnerships and chief of staff, you just get exposed to so many different department and roles. So you kind of get to dibble and dabble into
Yeah.
different opportunities. And partnerships are definitely not in the dictionary. I don't think that's still even anywhere really as a big role today. It's starting to pick up. I feel like
Yeah.
there's more awareness around partnerships, but it's interesting. So
And chief of staff the same.
yeah. No, I think it's coming up more. Some people confuse chief of staff with executive assistants still, which I'm sure makes your heart burn.
Yes.
But I think that's a huge opportunity for us to educate the future generations of what that looks like and what can be built on top of that. So I think, executive assistants are just as magical as any other role. I just want to make sure that chief of staff is understood as this core pillar for many executive organizations to move things forward. And I think that's a really, really big role into helping the decisions being not only made in the room, but actually progressed.
And one thing that a lot of the young folks that go to school now struggle with is that they also don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And being a generalist has never been seen as a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think today, especially with AI, being a generalist is a really good thing.
Yeah.
And the chief of staff role is a senior role, just like the partnerships role. It's a very similar skill set in that you're connecting dots, systems, people. And you're doing it at all levels of the organization. So having that true business degree and understanding how, to its core, a company functions on an operational level is something that's actually not taught in school.
Yeah.
Only seen with experience. And I think if young folks are generalists and want to understand and just do business, focusing on how companies are built and structurally is a good way to do so. And then starting as a junior chief of staff is also a really good way.
Yeah.
They call it chief of staffs, but the different levels, about 5 levels, and it's more of a business operations role or business or operational analyst, depending on how they call it. They call it a chief of staff just because it's more of an ego thing for whoever that role is attached to. And depending on the size of the organization as well. But,
I love that title. I think at some point when I was exploring if partnership was it or what I wanted to try, I think either you start in chief of staff or partnerships, it's very similar exposure to internal teams. You get exposure to multiple internal teams, but in partnerships, you get to work a lot externally. So either way gets you to know how to work cross-functionally and manage expectations, manage stakeholders, being really the face of something which I think there's a lot of kind of nuances that are very similar in the chief of staff and partnerships role.
I would agree to that. And it also depends. I think partnerships, you're still your own person and you are more the face, whereas as a chief of staff, you're really the shadow or the whisperer. So I think that's maybe the difference that I've been experiencing in my transition from chief of staff to partnerships.
Yeah.
So that's been really interesting to be my own person.
So let's create your own dictionary.
Ooh.
Take us through, because you've done a bunch of internships and then you landed in San Francisco. Take us through. So internships were what roles? Just, I think it's so important.
I started in
to
marketing.
Okay,
because I really, really enjoyed the psychology of it.
Yeah.
So I started in marketing. I did a really great internship. My last one was for the distribution company of the North Face, Lee Wrangler, UGG Australia, and I was in Sydney. So I got to understand how a company distributes globally. And also pushes a brand through with that localization, all that good stuff that you learn in business school.
Yeah.
So that was a really great internship. I was 2.5 months there for winter or their summer.
And you were marketing for the logistics or just in general?
Just brand marketing.
Brand marketing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So that's marketing for brands, for global brands. Okay, that's adding to the dictionary one. What else was on the menu?
So another internship that I really, really enjoyed, because that was my science nerdy side. It was in stem cell therapy for chronic heart failure.
Okay.
So they were taking stem cells from the bone marrow and injecting it through a catheter in your heart to rebuild your heart after a heart failure event.
Okay.
And so I was doing a lot of the market research specifically for the US. It was a Belgium-based company. So really understanding how the system works in the healthcare ecosystem here in the US, market sizing, TAM, all of
TAM, target account. Now I can't think. Target account. No, not target account management. I'm losing it. Total addressable market. My goodness. That's my pregnancy brain.
No. That's good.
I couldn't subtract the other day, so that was a whole different situation. So this we got.
Yeah.
So then, okay, so that's market research.
Market research.
Adding to the
for expansion. So that was more on the international business side in health tech. So completely different industry. And then in Japan, it was in manufacturing.
Okay.
So in the tooling space. And I was doing translation, German, French. So from Japanese to German and from Japanese to English and then French to English or something. I can't remember exactly. And I'll never forget this. I was translating a user manual for a heavy machinery.
Fun.
That screws the bolts on the rails of trains.
Whoa. Okay.
And one of their big clients is the national rail road system in France. And so I texted everyone in France saying, please stop taking trains because I don't know what translated. It was highly technical, and but that was one of the projects I did. It was a lot of the catalog management and, what you do as a new intern.
Yeah.
Busy work, but just exposure to industry and learning how you manage all of that. It was in the international department. And so I'll never forget this story. They wanted me to do, I was 18. They wanted me to introduce myself to the company and do a speech.
At 18, how
in
scary.
Japanese.
In Japanese, okay.
Which I do not speak.
Out of all the options on your list.
And so I wrote, I was not given a choice. I wrote my speech in English as simple as I could. It was about a minute long. They translated it phonetically, wrote it, and also wrote it in the Japanese alphabet. And I learned it by heart with the air hostess on my flight there.
Wow.
It was a 12-hour flight, I think.
That's enough time to practice a minute speech.
I landed, hadn't slept. I was nervous, completely on the other side of the world as an 18-year-old. I had just left France probably 4 months before that. And somebody came to pick me up from the airport and straight to the company and then speech. And I did not fail that one, actually. I have a really good memory, so I can learn anything by heart, even if it doesn't make any sense. But
that is very scary. Was that your first time being in like front of a big crowd?
No, because thankfully the business school trained us in speaking publicly, like early. But it was still 350 people.
Yeah. and very business professional, new culture, new everything.
Yeah, and I think, you know, they don't speak English, so I just wanted to. And the Japanese culture is something, you know, there's a lot of respect and ritual around that one.
Yeah.
And so I really don't want to mess it up or say something wrong or say something that will change the words where it meant something completely different.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of pressure, but
That is.
we got through it.
And it's also very reserved culture, so you can't even gauge your audience and know how they're feeling about your speech, right?
Yeah, no, but I wasn't really worried about that. I was just worried about
Just
saying
get
my
done.
thing and get it done and out of the way. But the first time I ate Japanese food and sushi was in Japan, actually.
Does it? Okay, I haven't been. It's on my list. Does it compare to anything in New York? No. Okay, so that's what I thought.
And to this day, I still can't really go to Japanese places, although there are really good ones. But
Yeah, nowhere close.
nowhere close. So.
That's like Italian pasta. You can sort of get close, but when you're in Italy, you can't.
Yeah, and it's also like pricing.
Yeah.
It's just, you know,
Yeah.
not supposed to be $100 a piece, you know.
There. So Japan. You're doing manufacturing, translating, train. That's crazy. What happens next? What's the next?
So then I went to Turkey. I was a sailing instructor.
This is so, wild.
So I sailed at the age of 6. And I wanted to have a good time in the summer, yet still learn management skills. And they always say you have the army, you have Club Med, which is where I worked at, and then just general corporate.
Yeah.
And I was 18, the youngest out of 220 people working there. And I have learned my best management lessons during that time, actually.
Tell us more.
It's very regimented and you don't have time for yourself. You're basically working 24/7. You're not sleeping very much either. So you have your day job, which is your sailing hours, so from 8 till 6. And you're working in shift, you're working in teams. We were a team of 11 sailors, 2 women. Roughly the same age, I would say, like anywhere between 18 to 25. And you have a leader and they're telling you what to do, and there's a lot of safety related to sailing, so there's no room for negotiation or whimsical whatever. It's there's protocols and just discipline, I think, is what I learned as well. There is discipline in building great teams, and I feel these days in corporate that lacks a lot.
This recently came up. We were talking about structure, leadership, teamwork. So people were messaging me about sports and very regiment roles that kind of set you up for proper leadership and getting people on board. What do you think in your background really set you up for leadership, structure, and supporting people? Or is it a mixture of everything? Do you think it's the competitive dancing? Do you think it's what's a good baseline?
It starts with education, I think, in your parents, like everything. My mom was very focused on good sleep, good food, and having good grades at school, as well as physical activity at a non-competitive athletic level, just enough to be fit. And the rest, I had full freedom.
Okay.
So I think it was learning that there are certain things that are non-negotiable. And then the rest is very negotiable. And that flexibility and understanding what you need, you know, in the Maslow's pyramids versus what you want, what you like, etc. And understanding those concepts early were really helpful.
So having that structure.
Having that basic structure in order to feel good. And be set up for success.
What about your non-negotiables now? What are your non-negotiables?
They're the same. Sleeping 8 hours is a must. Because I wake up like a nuclear weapon with a lot of energy. And so it kind of goes down throughout the day. And managing that energy is something that I've consciously learned in the past 3 years, I would say. Because when you have a lot of energy, you can do literally anything. And a lot, and squeeze yourself to death, and you know that high tolerance for pain that your childhood that wasn't so wonderful taught you and gave you that survival skill, and you know that great skill for being a chief of staff as well, can be tricky at times, and so you can push yourself to burnout quite a lot. And understanding your own limits and how much you can do until you hit that wall, and managing that is really, really important. So sleep, food, your own body. As a female, like, my energy levels and hormones have changed in the past 2 years, actually, I felt. And just being very much aware of that and listening to myself first. So oxygen mask on oneself first.
We talked about that.
Yes.
It's real.
That's been really, really important in doing that. So structure around sleep, food. There's those moments, everyone's different, but those moments where I'll crave chocolate between 2 and 3. It's like religious. So either it's like magnesium that I need, or a push of sugar, or whatever it is, and just listening to that, and it's a bit of a dip in energy. And so, for instance, I won't schedule any high stake meetings or conversations during that time, because I know that I'm not going to be at the best possible self. So really understanding yourself really well, and then building your day around you as opposed to being a slave to your day is something that I've learned as well.
So non-negotiable rules: sleep, managing your energy, knowing yourself, listening to yourself, good food, and movement. Okay, we got it.
And I still dance to this day.
You do?
Yes.
Is it like competitive dancing? Are you taking classes?
So it was competitive until COVID hit. I dance Argentine tango.
Fun.
Which also is filled with discipline and learning about yourself and trusting yourself and others and working in tandem with someone, teamwork, all that good stuff. So you were asking earlier, what is it that shaped me, in how I do things and leads? A lot of, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And still today, I do those things. So.
We talk about rules to thrive, of course, and we just dug into non-negotiables. I think there is this perception from people, and I want to break it, that if you didn't have the structure that we were talking about, from your childhood, where your mom said education, moving, food, and sleep was core. If you didn't have that in your childhood, I want to make sure we break the barrier to think that it's too late, that you can start at any time. So I'd love to get your advice, because you can start classes and trainings. So if someone doesn't have that structure and yet they're super ambitious, what would you say they should do to build that structure anytime at any age?
So it's easier, of course, if you grow up with it, because it's in your DNA, it's in your cell memory. So you know what it feels like and looks like. Last year, I hit depression. And so all of that went out the window for a good 6 months, I would say. And I found a group that did daily meditations for about 30 minutes. And it was just 30 minutes for myself. I was allowed to not feel guilty during those 30 minutes. And I don't know, I just found it. It just happened. It lined up. Somebody offered for me to try this thing. I said, okay, it's free. There's nothing to lose. And so just signing up to that thing gave me structure, 30 minutes during those days, every day. And I ended up meeting a lot of people. Among one of them happened to be Bill, a former vet. And he became my accountability partner and I became his. And so every day we would text in the morning saying, I got up, I made my bed, and whatever things we had done, and we would report to each other. And so that buddy system, because I live alone, I don't have pets, I don't have a partner. So that buddy system in life is really, really helpful, especially when he happened to be a former vet. So he would text me religiously.
He was very on it
every morning. And so it added that extra structure. So I think just like a leader you hire for your weakness, you do that in life too. And so you find those people that are willing, able, to support you in those moments. And everything's fluid, right? Sometimes you're not good at certain thing at a certain moment. And then you learn that muscle through that, or you build for it. through systems, so like daily routines, habits, things like that.
Yeah.
So the combination has been really helpful to get me back up to speed, because I used to walk in Central Park an hour every morning, and I lost that habit and motivation to get out there first thing at 7 a.m. Doing the 3 books helped me do that a lot last year, but this year I don't have something to read because I finished that. And so it's always finding that motivation, that thing that wakes up your inner child and gets you excited. And if you manage to explore that with curiosity and use that, like you can trick your own brain in doing certain things when you play with your inner child. And just like kids, you kind of trick them in doing something where you have to do it with yourself. So I've done that quite a bit.
I love that. I think that's also a concept I learned because I've been reading about this, and I did work with a therapist on this. I have this guilt everywhere. Guilt of being a good daughter. Am I doing enough? Guilt of being a good wife. Am I doing enough? Guilt of being present at work and for my team. And it causes burnout. And I think when you hit that, I had a very high anxiety, like panic attacks. And one of the things that I work through is very similar, is giving myself permission to give myself the time. So like simple things, like you said, find something that builds your inner joy. For me, it was such a small thing, but I have a dog and I go on a walk, but I saw it as a necessity.
A chore.
Yeah. So what I did is I said, actually, I'm giving myself a permission to dedicate these 30 minutes to an hour to myself, to be on my own and really enjoy this walk. And every time I walked outside with him, he's the best. Kobe, big lab, taller than me, wild. But it changed and rewired my brain. Instead of being a chore that I had to do, it was a dedicated time to myself where I could listen to manifestation, meditation, a podcast, whatever it may be, or just music, or just go in silence. It didn't matter. That permission is so important. So I think, let's be honest, I think over 1 million people were let go this year. And the emotions are high. There's shame around it. And if you're not doing something productive, looking for a job, you're failing. I feel like I've spoken to so many people about this. So I think it's the permission, give yourself permission to dedicate the time to you. And I think from your recommendation is find the rigor yourself. And it's a muscle, like working out, weightlifting.
That's right.
Everything's a
21
muscle.
days. It takes 21 days to change a habit.
Yeah.
So if you can stick to something every day for 21 days and push through it, usually you're set. Obviously, it's a daily practice, so.
Yeah.
Overwhelming ourselves and trying to do everything just never works. So it's just one thing.
You've been looking for a role for a while before you landed at Adobe. I think it's so important because people just see these career journeys on our LinkedIns, but they don't see the grit behind it. So take us through that journey of once you land in San Francisco, what happens next?
It actually started before I landed in San Francisco. So my mom did not want me to do a master's degree for multiple reasons. One of them is financial. We went through my parents' divorce, and so, she was a stay-at-home mom, and so paying for a master's degree in the US is no small feat. I was fortunate enough that I had grandparents that had the means to support me, and I found a program that happened to be only 1 year. So there was a lot of negotiation with my mom, and then I went to my grandparents and I negotiated with them, and they gave me a full scholarship. So I was very fortunate in that way. But I had to fight for it. And that was not an easy thing to get. And, it's not because that people have the means that they will always support you. Or if they want to support you, they'll put their own conditions in order to do that. So that negotiation skill set kicked in at that time. But I did land in San Francisco, and I had a great year. But I still didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was studying international business, still being exposed to a ton of different cultures. But being in San Francisco, the tech aspect was obviously very prominent. It was 2010. So I got exposed to that a little bit, and having that science background, I do have that nerdy side. And I've got reading and just open. And again, it's really just learning to expose yourself even when you don't know what it is that you want to do. In your early 20s is a must. It's just exposing yourself to everything and anything, right? And try. I was only there for 8 months because the program took me from San Francisco to Dubai. That was the first time I lived in the UAE. I started learning Arabic there. And
My goodness, I feel like I'm going to lose fingers counting all the languages.
Unfortunately, I did stay there long enough to be able to speak it fluently. But that's where I learned how to scuba dive, out of all places. And it's something that's very, very important to me today and shapes me also as a leader in terms of understanding of climate and the science around how our world works, and the sustainability that goes with being in business. And then after that, I went to Boston. So within a year, I was still like going around the world, being exposed and just learning all the things. Then I moved to New York. And so my mom got her friend's husband to buy my flight with points. One-way ticket from San Francisco to New York. I had 2 suitcases and I did not know where I was going to sleep my first night.
Wow.
And I had 90 days because I was on OPT, which is the visa you get once you've done 1 year or 2 years of student visas. So the F visa, for those who know. I was on OPT and I only had 1 year because it was a STEM visa. So not 3 years, but just 1. And in order to stop the clock, you need to find an internship, volunteering, whatever it is, within 90 days.
Wow. No pressure.
No pressure. So we got lucky. We had a friend from grad school that had a studio who was hosting a friend. And I had my boyfriend who came with me at the time. So 4 of us were in a studio for 5 nights, 4 suitcases. And on Craigslist, we found our apartment and that was it. And then I was just walking down the street thinking, what the hell am I going to do in my life in the city that I really, really want to be in and live in? And I looked up and I saw a brand that I happened to recognize, which was a Turkish jeans company called Mavi, which means blue. And so I immediately ran home, went on the website, looked for if they had internships, and they did. So I ended up applying, getting interviewed, got the internship. They weren't going to sponsor.
No.
So we negotiated that I would do 2.5 days during the week.
Yeah.
So still, work, get exposed, learn. But then the other half of the week, I would continue looking for an internship job, whatever. And that's how I decided that I was going to put myself out there and I had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So I walked into every single headquarter of large Fortune 500 companies with my resume, found myself up in floors giving my resumes to HR. I did that for Tiffany, for instance. I'll never forget that one. And writing to everybody on LinkedIn, learning how to pitch.
Making that pitch
Yeah.
smaller versus
small.
Yeah.
And also playing a little bit on emotions. So I would ask, would you be interested in mentoring me? I had figured out that people were actually really flattered. And that would work. So just refining those strategies in getting people to talk to you, going to networking events, meetups at the time was still a thing.
Yeah.
So I went and, made friends that way as well. And eventually I went to something called Internations, multicultural community. And I found my main internship, pre-internship.
What is that?
So it was a 6-week project.
Okay.
That was, of course, unpaid.
Of course.
And it was organizing events for startups that were going to be in France, but from the US.
Okay.
So it was in that international business field.
Yeah.
And it was in the startup world, and that's how I got exposed. And it went well. Then they decided to graduate me to an actual intern.
Actually pay you for a
Right.
little
And
bit.
that's when they committed that they would do the H-1B visa.
Wow.
So this was 2011.
Wow. Okay. I want I want to go back because you said something and I want to hear it. The Tiffany story. What happened?
So I saw a role that was focused on Asia Pacific. And obviously I had just come back from China.
And you had
so
the
I was
experience.
interested. And it was in the digital team, I believe. So I wrote to the CEO at the time, who was French. I went into the store on Fifth Avenue. And then I went into the offices around the corner and I dropped my resume in physically in both places. And Francois, he actually responded to me and got me an interview.
Okay.
I was shocked that the CEO of Tiffany & Co. had responded to humble little me who was nobody and just arrived in the US. I mean, it was ridiculous. And that's, I think, the hope that you need when you're doing something crazy like that. You hold on to those things that work and that unlimited positivity. And also, when you decide that your plan B is going to be, non-existent and
There's
plan
no
B
plan
is
B.
plan A,
Yeah.
you just hang on to those small wins. And then eventually with time, those small wins accumulate. And so that's what builds confidence.
Yep.
So I did a lot of that.
But I think it's still important today. Because I'll tell you, my husband has been looking for a job for a while. Like I think you and I talked about it maybe. And what I noticed in today's economy, if you apply online, that's like throwing a bottle in the ocean. It's useless at this point in time. And if you reach out to hiring managers, it's also not as consistent because they get just so many messages once the role is posted. HR is so overwhelmed with number of candidates. No AI, there's still no proper filter to really help them look for candidates. I just remember, interviewing 5 years ago, my resume wouldn't be updated. I would just be like, take a look over and we'll get an interview. Now, it's the same thing. CEOs want the best talent. They want the audacious talent, the people that have no fear, and they speak for what they want. So I think that's still so relevant today, where if you're looking for a job, learn from this story that the worst thing you can get is no response. The second worst thing you can get is a no. And the best thing you can get is a response in an interview. So I think that's such a big lesson.
I think it's really hard though. Psychologically over time, it's like to get rejection and it's really like a mind game. And your resilience and your stubbornness and your determination is where it becomes a true asset, because then you don't take no for an answer. But it's really hard to do that on a daily basis. Just to kind of like loop back as well, I didn't get exposure to corporate America because nobody would sponsor visas. And so I was only able, and I hate to use the word only because it was amazing, to build companies. So I was stuck building companies. I ended up building 27 companies before the age of 32.
Wow.
And that was because I learned how to do things at small scale by trial and error with good mentorship, but also a lot of freedom. And so that's why I'm grateful that I don't have access to corporate America, because they shape you, they train you. And so the very different worlds. I happen to be in corporate America now because I got my green card. I'm now American. It's been 3 years. That was definitely a journey. But a lot of the roles that I get now is for roles that people don't fit the bill, or blue ocean type of roles. So net new roles generally, exactly because a lot of people like the fact that I have no fear. The problem is it breaks a lot of things, and then there's a lot of the change management that you have to learn. And luckily, I have that experience, so you learn to pace yourself as well. So I think it's a balance for everything. Being fearless is pretty amazing when you're alone. It's pretty scary to others when you're working with others. So managing emotions of others when you are fearless and you have that extreme tolerance for pain, but also that excitement, it is difficult.
I was working with someone to start putting a book. And the book was always called Rules to Thrive. And because there's so much out there on self-help and business help and all of that, the feedback I've gotten is that it fits with all this stuff and it doesn't stand out. So the proposal is to say that there's no plan B. To me, that's a given. Like, it's a part of the
you
story.
take it for granted, right?
You take it for granted. But I think is what you're saying. And, we were asking the question is, I've been asking, I'd love to hear your answer. When did you think when was a moment where you felt like you were going to give up? Did you have that moment?
I mean, most recently, because that was the hardest one. You get through the hump of getting your green card, which is the holy grail in the immigration process, which means that nobody has any sword over your head, that nobody owns you anymore, that it's true freedom. The amount of PTSD that I have, I can only speak for myself, from the immigration process is really, really hard. And I came from the British side of things, and that's easier than other countries, right? I think what's really, really hard is once you get that freedom and then life doesn't go your way, because that's your biggest problem, and then your biggest problem shifts. And all of a sudden, all your problems are so much smaller than whatever it is compared to a green card, but it still doesn't go your way. And so what happened is that the two moments. I had built a business with a CEO from 0 to 34 million in 18 months.
Wow.
We're based here, but we were selling in Europe. So true born global company. The lead investor took over, and the CEO was no longer the CEO. And within 3 months, a lot of things changed. And I was let go from the company I had built.
From ground up.
Nothing.
Yeah.
We didn't even know what we were going to sell our first day. We had the concept, but I ended up crossing the Atlantic after that with two strangers that I met on a beach. So there's a lot of things like that where you don't have control over life, but sometimes just having a lot of faith in, okay, the next thing is going to be even better than whatever it was, is really helpful, because then it shifts that mindset. So you were given the example of how you shifted your dog walk from a chore to something that you enjoy for yourself. You can only control what you think and your mindset. So it's been really a true game of me playing with my own brain and my own thoughts and getting through things. That was the first one that was really hard. And then I ended up getting my role as a chief of staff to Maël Gavé, who's the most incredible leader, and learning all the things and understanding how a true global company functions. That was my first corporate America role. And then from there, I ended up burning out close to twice. But I absolutely adored my job. Like, I honestly, if I could, I would have continued doing it today. So I left. That's exactly when the whole venture capital world went rogue in the worst possible way. I think it's 675,000 roles that have been eliminated in tech in the past 3 years. And I happened to be at the very beginning of those 3 years. And that year, I nearly hit zero in my bank account 4 times. So once a quarter. And it was really annoying, because even though I didn't have a job, I wasn't going to get deported. So it was all up to me.
So the big problem was solved.
Yeah.
And the career was already there, experience was there, and now you're facing a whole other side of the coin.
Now it's a runway issue. It's, okay, how do I find a role that's interesting, that makes sense in my career, that pays me, adult life in New York City in my 30s, and that's interesting and keeps me going, etc. And I love the chief of staff role. Absolutely adored it. I ended up building a community within chief, actually.
You still have it.
I still have it, of Fortune 1000 chief of staffs. I started building one on the side as well that was not chief related, and had a lot of momentum around that. But even then, like, with the community, building a name, starting posting on LinkedIn, putting myself out there, building a personal brand, learning from other chiefs actually that did that. And it took me 3 years. 3 years. And even in my age group, that's what's hard. It's like, if it's hard for me in my age group at my level, it's harder for people that are in Gen X, boomers, etc. right now, especially females in tech.
Yeah.
I think 2023 was definitely a resilience year and learning how to build a side business. So I built a consulting business. I'd never done that before by myself. And leveraging all the experience I had built and selling that, packaging it, and just tapping into the network and really building a network intentionally. And so what was really interesting is that the skill set of building that internal network as a chief of staff, you just copy paste, and instead of doing it for a company, you do it for whole ecosystem. And so I ended up doing it for the New York tech ecosystem as much as I could. So understanding the government stakeholders, understanding who are actually tactically doing the things, the community builders. That now I have another WhatsApp group. It's about 500,000 founders, I think, represented in those 40 people that run the show in tech in New York. And they're the most incredibly generous and kind human beings as well. And so I went around mapping, stakeholder mapping in the ecosystem and trying to add value and be helpful however I could. And then you just become an intrinsic part of the web. And even then, I couldn't find a job. And so
with the connections, with the network, with
none of it.
Yeah.
And nearly it nearly wasn't playing in my favor at some point, because once you've built a personal brand that's actually quite strong, a lot of people don't want that. They don't want you to have that strength as a person. They want you to be doing a thing for someone else.
A certain thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So you don't want to be too visible, or too loud, or have too strong opinions that could offend, or be too direct, which comes with being an immigrant that comes from those cultures, right? So a lot of that started playing against me. So much so that I did find a role last year. It didn't work out. After 3 months, it was just not a fit. I didn't enjoy it.
How do you walk away from that? You looked for 3 years, you hit so many roadblocks, and yet you found something. How do you walk away?
I think it's more about you work so hard to want something to be happy.
Yeah.
And the thing you got made you miserable.
Yeah.
So it's not worth it. Mm-hmm. And I had built a side business that was thriving by that time. So then the realization came to, well, I don't need a job.
Yeah.
I don't need to be working for other people. I'm actually really enjoying the fact that I have my own schedule, my own boss, that I can do all the things that I enjoy doing, that I've discovered myself enjoying during the past 3 years. So it was definitely a journey and a process. Like I learned that I really enjoyed producing events, and I happened to be pretty good at it apparently. So I ended up doing a lot of that. I got my first board seat as well.
From doing that?
No, I think it was simultaneous actually. I got my board seat and I ended up kickstarting my series of events at the same time, and then I merged the two, and then it became stronger. And I think my favorite book over the past 3 years is Ikigai. And I've sat with that diagram weekly. I've had weekly meetings with myself. I'm like, okay, what do I love?
The Ikigai. Yeah.
So what do I love? What value do you bring to the ecosystem? And what are people willing to pay you for?
You're the second person on our podcast that brings up the concept. What was your... Can we cover it again? So what is it? What does it stand for? It's a mixture between...
It's the warm and fuzzy middle of lots of circles. But the main three is what you're good at, what people are willing to pay you for, and what the world needs. And so just sitting there and intentionally like thinking about all of that is really, really a process that I've taken to heart, and it helped me. And even today, like, because that shifts.
Yeah.
Nothing is static. So
yeah.
You think you got it, and then you're like, I don't like this anymore.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting shift. And I think to your point, being an immigrant coming from a family that doesn't have everything, there's always that perception that you need to have that one job that pays you the salary because that's equals stability. So building your business is risky. So I think it's that perception that's ingrained in your brain that this is what you need to have to be successful. So I think the fact that you had to just, say the 3 months that I worked on this job that's giving me absolutely no joy, I hate it, it's burning me out, don't want to do this, but I have a business that's thriving, just getting to the point to say, I'm actually going to be okay. And if the right opportunity comes my way, I'll take it. But I think that's such a big
I think it's building that structure around what freedom looks like. And freedom's a big concept and value for me. And I really built systems around everything in my life to not have anyone be able to tell me what to do.
Yeah. No, that's
which is a big thing. And I enjoy freedom. And I think everybody should be able to have that joy.
I feel like you're giving us 3 exercises for our audience. 1, and I love doing this because it does also change, is creating your non-negotiables.
Right.
I think it's perfect timing as we're going into 2026. Sit down and say, what's non-negotiable for me?
And you can stress
baseline.
test those too, because sometimes there's self-limiting beliefs as well.
Yeah.
And so you put them on paper and then you take them one by one and you stress test them, however that looks like.
Yeah.
Because you have to challenge yourself. And you push it. And then once you've pushed it, you're like, okay, this is actually my limit today. And that might change too in the future. So being flexible around it. But for sure, like questioning yourself is important as well.
The second exercise is Ikigai, which is a book we recommend reading. But I think the concept is jot everything down and write everything down that gives you joy, that is necessary in the world. And I'll tell you, like, I still have limiting belief myself that Rules to Thrive could be, it is an LLC, so it's a business. And I think we do it because we truly believe in sharing the blueprints with people. But because it's not corporate America that I'm used to, I haven't been able to fully shift that it's a real business. And we have courses and we have classes, we have digital stuff. So it's, for me, it's still that. So I just want to make sure no one's perfect. We're still going through our...
But it's also not all or nothing.
Yeah.
It's okay to have a side business and a full-time gig.
Yeah.
As long as you bring your whole self to your full-time gig, because that's what they require.
Yeah.
But also to your side gig. And if you can manage that well, then it gives you options. And so I think being able to manage the logistics of having both is really, really important. And I'd recommend everyone having both. Obviously, there's like a bunch of stuff. You don't want conflict of interest.
In between, yeah.
But if you can do those 2 or even 3 things, right? And it doesn't always have to be a business related thing. It could be being on a board seat of an NGO of a cause that you deeply care about. That's very emotionally fulfilling, right? It's not all about the cash. It's a balance of having that financial cushion and safety, especially for a lot of single parents, women that can't seem to find partners. Like that's a big topic in my generation right now.
So that's I think that's the third exercise is what does freedom look like to you?
Right.
Interchangeably with what are your non-negotiables and what is your Ikigai? So I'm curious. I know you mentioned before we start recording that you're dating, but
yes,
I think there is this misconception that you need to have career, family, everything at once. So what does freedom mean to you?
Freedom. So financial safety is a big thing for me. Because
a Google executive at our panel last week said it's the FU money fund, which I love.
That's right. Yeah. So that's definitely a concept that I've heard before, the FU fund. Financial safety is number one, especially for females. I come from a household where we were stuck in, a domestic situation because my mom wasn't working and didn't have that.
Relied on your dad.
Back up in a way because also there's a legal, situation when you have kids. So, for me, seeing that and being that financially free person is really important. So that's number one. Number two, having the most options. I am very lucky that I come from multiple cultures, which means I have multiple passports, which gives me a lot of freedom. Especially now that I have an American passport as well, so I can come and go as I please, and so really that physical mobility is really important. I speak with a lot of generations in terms of leadership, and it's really, really interesting where every time I say this sentence saying, I'm going to retire at 40, the faces I observe is incredible. And I'm like, I have no interest in working forever. I have so many like places to see, NGOs to support, and do things that where my inner child's happy and fulfilled. Whereas while I love working and doing the things I do, because I'm quite passionate about tech and supporting founders, especially underrepresented founders, immigrant founders, but just great ideas in general, no matter where you come from, and innovation, that also fulfills me. But do I want to do that every day for another 40 years? No.
Yeah, it's that perception, the pre-built misconception that you should be on the job. And I'm still in awe meeting people who've been like at Intel for 25 years, at IBM for 30 years.
Yeah.
And that's the older definition of American dream. I think that, is you get a nice corporate job with a great retirement package. You get the house. Well, in New York, not much big of fence in a backyard, but regardless, you get a house, right? So that's your freedom. What about dating? I feel like there's so much pressure for women.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting because right now I am dating, and the question that's come up a few times is, do you have time? And my answer is usually no. But for the right person, I'll make time.
Yeah.
And then it's about the right person understanding that I need to be producing events. I need to be out there. I need to be, that person that I am and that I've shaped myself to be in order to be happy.
Yeah.
And having that support, and mutually supporting each other's dreams is important. And so I am 37, and I definitely want a partner, a family. I do want to have kids. But at the same time, for me, what's important is always the relationship. It's not about having the kids.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people talk about egg freezing, for instance. People started gently advising that I should freeze my eggs since the age of 32, I think. And that's been the most annoying. For multiple reasons. First of all, nobody reads the data between egg freezing and what it actually does or doesn't do. So I think it's a wonderful option when unfortunately you need to, for lots of different reasons. There's so many women that have ovarian cancers or other different cancers, unfortunately, early in their 30s, more than ever before. So it's a great option, but it's not the one solution that just like solves the problem.
Yeah.
I happen to be very healthy and get my hormones checked, so I don't feel the need to do that.
Yeah.
And also I don't really feel the pressure. And so you asked me what freedom looks like.
Yeah.
If I don't have kids, so be it.
Yeah.
I won't pick a partner just because I want kids.
I studied an undergrad for psychology and business, and once I was done, very similar business backgrounds, and once it was done, my mom was like, okay, you got your bachelor's, off you go get a job and get married. I'm like, actually, I want to get my master's. Very similar to you. Like, how do I negotiate? And at that time, my mom just gave birth. She was 40 to my sister. I have no one in between. It could have been my child. People think it's my child. I have 21-year difference between us.
Huge difference.
Huge difference. So then they had no money for me to go to an MBA, and I had no plan B. So in my case, I said, you know what, if I'm going to take this a financial burden, I will. So it was an $185,000 loan once it was done.
Oof, yeah, a lot of people unfortunately have to take loans.
Yeah, and it's everyone that was not studying in the U.S. look at me like this is nuts. The education should be free, but that's different
different
topic.
Standards, different worlds, different expectations.
So I get my MBA in finance and marketing. I get my job. I started in finance, and then I was like, not it, tech. Go back to San Francisco. Get my job. My mom goes, okay, you have a job, MBA. Can we get married now? And I'm like, no, I just got the taste of tech. I just got the taste of partnerships, and I just got the taste of travel, business travel.
Yeah.
And in your 20s, I'm sorry, now I'm so over it. But in your 20s, you're traveling, getting on the plane, you're meeting these amazing people. Highly recommend, right? You're exploring the world, you're exploring possibilities.
Right.
Once you get closer to your 30s, the pressure gets
All your
really
friends get married.
I have so many friends that have multiple children that are coming back to me and asking me what to do about their career. So that's the other flip of the coin.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, and to me, that was one of my non-negotiables. I'm not going to settle. I'm not going to settle until I meet my partner who can support me and let me be me. Because I have dated people that were everything in terms of loyal, loving, there, but not passionate about life, not passionate about their careers.
Yeah, just not a fit to you.
Yeah. And I didn't think it was important. So I think the non-negotiables apply to you. And I recommend, to your point, it's what is your freedom and what is your non-negotiable for dating, especially for women. We get so much more pressure by getting married, having children, starting a family. And the ones with ambition really trying to find what's the right way. So my recommendation, and I'd love to hear if you have that, is creating non-negotiable for your partner too. Like, what are your non-negotiable?
So for me, it's weird to say this, but the way I date is the way I hire,
Interesting.
which means it's only value-based hiring.
Are you adding value to my life?
No, like values, like
values.
truth,
True value. Okay.
honesty, how you handle pressure, for instance, all those things, and how do you care for others? Do you protect them emotionally, physically, etc.? And so I hire based on those values.
Yeah.
Why? Because I hired a lot of people as I was building companies. And so during the different phases of building, the different people that you hire.
Yeah.
But the people that you hire first are the ones that are going to make or break that company.
Yeah.
And so you don't have a lot of room for error, just like finding your partner.
Yeah.
And those are going to be your true heroes that are going to be with you through thick and thin.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so same thing for me, like talking about values, like loyalty. How do you manage your money? What do you care about? But the main two are really loyalty and the truth.
Yeah.
And how good are you at communicating?
Mm-hmm.
How much are you able to share openly that you're scared?
Yeah.
That
Ability.
you feel shame, that you are able to feel insecure for whatever reason, but name it.
Yeah.
And so that's really important.
I didn't believe in the woo-woo stuff. I do now.
I'm a full woo-woo person.
You have to write it down. You have to write it down. I remember I walked away from a partner who I thought I could marry, and he asked me to marry 100 times. And I walked away because I realized I wake up next to him and I'm waking up with anxiety. That this is it. And it was weird because there was nothing wrong per se, but it was the missing passion for life. I'm so passionate about life. I want to feel everything, experience everything, because we only get one. Like, to me, it's
that we know of.
That we know of for now. Yes, yeah, that's the other woo-woo. I think so. I sat down and I wrote down, very similar to yours. I said loyalty with family. It's like, to me, it was knowing the value of family was super important because I'm so close to mine. And some people in my life, especially American born, were like, why are you there every weekend? Why are you investing so much time with your parents? Why are you buying them trips? Like, they're self-sufficient. And to me, it was always the immigrant journey together with my parents, and they had me really early. So that was really important to me. And if someone didn't understand that, I couldn't be with them.
And so one of the things that I look for in dating now is that because I'm a third culture kid,
Yeah.
which reduces the pool significantly, is that I need a third culture kid too.
Yes. Yeah.
So yes, the immigration piece is helpful, but it's really the cultural mutual understanding, because then there's common ground, especially when you're dating on apps.
Yeah.
You have no common ground.
Yeah.
It's just a random stranger off the street. You have nothing
Yeah.
that's keeping you together or that's common ground. You have to build that very intentionally. And so when you have common values that are cultural,
So important to
it's
start.
helpful. And then when you're a third culture kid, it's really weird, because recently I've been dating someone who is one, and that's been the most incredible experience, because every other sentence we switch languages midway.
Yeah.
And so being able to speak multiple languages to truly express ourselves with the nuances of language and meaning,
Yeah.
that's been the most incredible experience.
I find it so fascinating because your brain picks the best words and sentences for the emotion you're trying to express, or
That's
for
right.
the actual passion you want to express. It's so fun. It's like, this is how I built my friend group in my life. Like, the closest friend group is immigrants that can switch back and forth. And it's such a weird, like, it's its own language at this point.
It's exactly. It's own little culture and bubble, and that's been really, really great.
Yeah. Now this is really helpful. So my question to you, for all the women that feel the pressure.
Which one? There's so many pressures.
All the pressures. So we talked about FU fund. That's important.
Yes, the FU fund is very important. Or the system that builds the FU fund, because not everybody's privileged to have an FU fund.
Absolutely. I think especially now and there's a recent report about all the promotions and C-suite and board seats that we as women are declining, which is really, really scary to see. But what about the pressures of, I think we've given your blueprint for how to land a job, and I'd love to hear your kind of the final where you got to Adobe today, which is an amazing story. But the dealing with pressure of dating, building a career, what's your advice to women that want the independence and the relationship is not the number one priority, and how to remove that pressure from their life?
I mean, I think until you're settled and set up, you can't really focus on other people anyway. It's oxygen mask on oneself first. So it's really, and to be honest, when you're like struggling to pay your bills, I don't think you're thinking about dating.
Yeah.
Or if you are, you're usually trying to distract yourself from it, which is also fine. It's whatever makes you feel good.
Yeah.
And so that is the one sentence. Whatever makes you feel good is okay.
And that's up to you.
And that's up to you, nobody else. Nobody gets to tell you how you feel good.
So you went through this 3-year journey of looking for a job. You had such an incredible background, amazing network, and yet it was still super challenging. You walk away from this 3 months opportunity, focus on your business. How do you land where you are today?
So I decided that I was just going to build my own conference. So my own shop talk, my own web summit version. Started doing that. So event production became my thing. I eventually got over myself because my former CEO at Techstars had called it many years ago.
Planted the seed?
Yeah. She said, why don't you do this as a business? And I said, event production. I don't really use my brain to do that. And I was being condescending about it. Because I liked building tech and that stuff. And then eventually I realized that it's actually really fun. And it's not because you do one thing at some point and then you do something else at another point, that means you're never going to do this one thing again.
Yeah.
I ended up getting a text message in May this year. So I was not looking for a job since January. I gave up. I was building my own thing. I was getting huge momentum, letting it all go. I was producing an event for NASA, crying out loud, which nobody will ever know about because lovely Elon Musk canceled that budget. But I was doing great things that was fulfilling me. And at the end of the day, we said, whatever makes us feel good. And so that's what I was very much focused on. And I got a text message from the former COO of Miro, who I had met through the CHRO of Miro, who I had met through a friend of a dance partner of mine.
Whoa. Not even the network, not even corporate world. It's
I mean, it was a network, but that's the network. And so, by the way, the best hip hop class in town, where we learned to dance a Thriller choreography that we ended up doing the Halloween parade a few years ago. Anyway, long story short. But I ended up interviewing for the CHRO of Miro as her potential chief of staff. Of course, when you're job searching, you don't have a lot of options. And so you don't really say no.
Yeah.
I happened to be in Fiji when that happened. So I landed. I was at the airport. I had my time for my interviewed from the airport. And it went really well. Eventually, I didn't get the role. And it was for the better because the CHRO ended up leaving Miro 3 or 4 months later. But she introduced me to Varun, who was about to start his role at Adobe. And so we had a phone call on a Saturday. I ended up pitching him on how we'd go about distribution for Gen Studio. And I just made it up on the fly. I hadn't prepped. We spoke for about an hour and 15 minutes. And I guess it was interesting.
Landed.
But that was a year and a half before that text message in May.
Wow.
So you have no idea where it's going to come from. And frankly, I wasn't looking for a job.
Yeah.
I was about to have the CEO of Ketchum help me pitch my sponsors for my big event. So I was moving forward. And then I sat there and thought, this is not random. And this might actually help me build the conference I do want to be building. And this is a partnerships role. This is something I've been eyeing for about 2 years. And finally, I would break free from the chief of staff role, which I absolutely adored, but it is very taxing. And I did want to date.
Yeah.
And so I wanted a job where I could have a life outside. And so I ended up speaking with the team, loved Marie, my manager, current manager, and decided that it made sense to try. And that's something else that I want to encourage people, is that it's not because then you get that connection, you get that introduction, you have that interview process that goes well, but you're still with that choice. You don't have to take the job because while they're interviewing you, you're interviewing them.
Yeah.
In that instance, I came from a place where I was interviewing them.
Yeah.
And of course, they were interviewing me. So it was really more of an equal footing. And that's a very comfortable place to be in, obviously. But I had done all the work and given myself that freedom. And so I, was very excited for the role and what we're doing. And unfortunately, I can't even talk about what we're doing right now because everything will be announced next year. And so I'm very blessed in doing all the innovation and blue ocean things that nobody has ever done before. I'm very blessed in leveraging all that chief of staff skill set as well, because it's a lot of internal movement and communication and operations and things like that. And cadence management as well. So I think I'm very, very fortunate and blessed today to have a role that I really, really enjoy at a company that's incredible, that I am dating, that I have time to date, that I'm producing events that are crazy. We just kicked off yesterday a meeting for Tech Week next year after an MVP that we did this year.
Mm-hmm.
This year we had 16 countries come together for a Tech Week event, which I just thought was a thought. Yeah. And it happened. And next year, I think we're going to have 22 countries come together, and all European companies, the mayor's office is involved, the NYCDC, and all that network in tech in New York is now coming together. And
it's like a full picture for you coming into one.
It's pretty incredible. So I do feel very humbled and fortunate every day. And, it was a journey to get here. And I also know that it's not always going to last. So taking it day by day and enjoying the wins is really something that's special.
No, I don't even remember. This is your power, by the way. I don't even remember how we met, but I think you and I just clicked so easily. And I think that's your power of building your networks, and just bringing people in and supporting each other. I think that's just
what I care about deeply is the people, not for what they do, but who they are. And unfortunately, because corporate America pushes you to have that mask and that wall up for lots of different reasons, because I didn't grow up in that space and my career started with startups, so I was allowed to be my authentic self for a really long time in my career. And I have gotten that feedback, actually, that I'm able to connect really deeply, really quickly with people. Sometimes it makes people feel so uncomfortable, actually.
They're not our people.
Yeah, but I
Maybe
think giving permission to people to be themselves and not be so perfect and walled up
Yeah.
is also really something that I try to do everywhere, whether it's at work, in the street, whatever. I think it's also a bit of the Turkish side. We're very warm people, where they will take in strangers and give you coffee, tea until you burst. And I think there is that cultural aspect as well. But we met because Victoria and you did an episode, and I thought it was an incredible episode. So I wrote to you because I saw also that you were in partnerships. And I was thinking I need to build my own board on the partnership side because I've never done partnerships before. And so I need to learn from the best. And so I thought Olga could be one of those. And that's how I reached out to you intentionally. I have very good stalking skills.
No, that was great. That I think we're now WhatsApp friends and we share quite often with each other different things. So I'm very happy we could make it here today. I'm definitely will support your partnerships journey because I think it's an incredible opportunity and you have every ingredient, every tool in your toolbox to be incredibly successful, and Adobe is extremely lucky to have you.
Thank you.
I'm so grateful for you to be vulnerable and share your journey with us today. And my favorite question to ask for every person that comes on our podcast is, what are your 3 rules to thrive? We gave exercises.
Yeah.
But what are your 3 rules to thrive?
Waking up in the morning and saying out loud, this is going to be a great day, however you feel. Even if you're crabby, you didn't sleep, just saying it out loud. I share this tip with a lot of founders, actually. So that's one. The third one is making sure you sleep. It's such a big, important thing because then you can really tackle any type of drama. And then the third would be try to think of someone, just one person that you enjoy being with, but you don't speak with often, and send that person a message that day.
Ooh, that's a new one. I love that. I'd be curious, one more, sorry, not my last question, because you come from so many multicultures. Is there one like statement that was living in your family that you carry with you till this day? English, Turkish, French?
There are a few. The very famous or infamous "keep calm and carry on." Onward and upward. The French one, mieux vaut être seul que mal accompagné, which means it's better to be alone than in bad company.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the conversation.
I did, and I was definitely in the best company.
No, thank you. Oh, this was so good.